Hello, everybody. I'm Cara.
And I'm Andrew.
We're Membership Quest, and today we're going to dive into an exciting topic looking at the differences between breaking down complex patterns, create deeper understanding, and really honing in on the differences between a course and a membership and how they can both serve.
That and more. All
And
right.
more, yes.
All right. And just to say hello to everybody, if you're here while we get started, type in where you're from. And even if you're watching on replay, I'd love to hear kind of
Yeah,
where everybody's seeing this stuff. And let's get started. Great topic today. Here we go.
gonna be fun. All right, so again, breaking down complex patterns to create deeper understanding. And the items we're going to be covering today are the concept of a course versus a membership, how they're different. There are a lot of similarities, but how they're different, how they can reach different audiences. We're going to explore and break down the content in a course versus a membership, what that looks like, benefits, that kind of thing. We're going to then look at keys to consumption of content, which is the key to keeping someone engaged with things and learning, the big thing of learning, that's the whole point. And integration, integrating into their change and how they're improving and transforming in their learning. And finally, we're going to look at structuring content into good and positive aspects based on the different content structures for courses versus memberships. So let's get started, Andrew.
Yeah, and I'm really excited today's topic. This is a big kind of topic that we've been exploring and
Yes.
talking about, in the last, few months especially, but really those key differences and that, it might be a course and a membership might not be exactly what you think it is. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea here is that these are more conceptual, and that we can take a lot of these aspects into um, different um, different parts for the membership ideas, or into the courses, and the course stuff into the membership stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no right or wrong answer to any of this stuff. It's really about what are these concepts, what we want to learn and take, and then if you can take some of these and add these into your specific niche and the topics that you're learning, definitely that's
Mm-hmm.
the whole point of what we're trying to get at here. So, you ready to get started?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
All right. Oh, we got to get the hamburger going. So,
There we go. We
I was,
do. Of course we do.
I always forget there. You're gonna sword and stone here.
There we go. Yes.
So this is again just kind of always a frame of reference for us,
Mm-hmm.
is that really we're focusing today on content and how content is structured. And really content, no matter what you're doing, you're a specialist in your area, right? And so, how do you break down those amazing ideas, concepts, skills into digestible things, and how do we do that? So that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the content structure today.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
all right.
Okay. Concept of courses versus memberships. So we've all been in school at one time or another in our lives, and and oftentimes I think that graphic is really good, Andrew, because a course sometimes can just be this swirl of information coming at you. Wow, it's kind of overwhelming, and sometimes you just want to get through it and memorize stuff for the test and be done with it, and you're not really learning anything. I have a really fun story about my dad, really quick, about math was not my thing. It was my dad was a physics major, so I didn't get that gene. And we were working on my math homework one night when I was elementary school, and I was almost in tears. I'm like, Dad, I just want the answer. Just give me the answer. He's like, honey, if I give you the answer, you're not going to learn this. So let's start again and let's try this different approach. He was the best math teacher ever. And I finally did understand algebra. I was like a light bulb. So again, courses can be just kind of overwhelming, and you get all the information oftentimes at the beginning, and you're all excited about it, but then life happens, and you start missing a day of studying, and eventually it's like, it's too much stuff to do. So not all courses are like that, but that can be a tendency with a course. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, so we one thing about courses, and you mentioned school, and one of the concepts of a course that we want to kind of get into a little bit is that we have these getting ready to study and complete something, and how many when you go into your finals for a very hard course or whatever, and you come out at the end and then you take your final test. I always kind of have this concept of
Right.
uh, all that knowledge leaking out, and you're going into your summer break and you forget everything you've learned. And we, of course, we don't forget everything, but do we forget a lot of it because really we were just kind of studying to get that? And that's kind of one of the really big concepts we're going to talk about today, right? Is that that if you do it in a different way, it's more structured to become a learning and using and consumption of this versus just memorizing facts, which really is not going to get us anywhere unless the whole point is memorizing facts to a certain degree. So,
Exactly. Yes.
and so another fun thing that of course, is how many people put in the comments or think about how many courses have you bought or gotten that you haven't finished out, right? You can tell us below.
A few.
A few, right? Right, because we get excited, we want to learn this topic, and so then we get in there and there's 900 things to learn, and you're busy and you have some deadlines. You're like, quick, I'll get to it, and eventually you don't finish your consumption, or you don't get through it. Even just getting through it, let alone learning stuff, a lot of times can be that. So here's the next one is the membership. What's this allude or elicit, Cara?
Yeah, it's a kind of a long-term collaborative, interactive. I think that's one of the biggest things. Even if it's not with real people in a room like that, it's an interactive exchange of information, and very much a flow of engagement along the line.
Yeah, and that's again just fun building these slides, or when we come up with the concepts, it's what are these concepts come out, and how do we how do we display it and get us to all think about these things?
Right.
And these two things are about, really, it's a led experience, and also I kind of thought this was a fun graphic below about it's also multi different aspects of learning. So it could be written, it could be reading, it could be audio, it could have video parts, it could have some lives involved. That's computer there, but they're all these different aspects of different ways for us to learn. And one of the things that some courses do as well is that ultimately the more you bring in, people may consume the content in different ways. So I think that's a tip for all of us to
Yes.
find different ways to get this information out. So of course this goes a little more into detail in the next one, but I think that's a good one. So
yeah, and really, really quickly on that too, Andrew. I have taken a few online courses that were kind of structured like a membership. So not all courses are fire hose, overwhelm. Some are structured more like a membership with kind of engagement and learning pieces along the way that don't make them so overwhelming. So yeah, so courses don't have to be completely overwhelming, but that's one of the
but if you are
differences in
building
how.
a course that maybe you can take some of the concepts of
Exactly.
a double quote membership and then integrate those into your
Exactly.
into your topic. So that's a good point.
Good point. Yeah.
So let's talk about explore the breakdown and the content of the course, maybe, and then you can go through the first set here. And this is again just general, right? It's not
General,
every
sure.
course or every membership, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a course often is, like we mentioned, it's often self-guided, and and your learning is up to your time frame, and how much time you have to commit to that. And we all have great intentions, and sometimes that doesn't work out. Oftentimes a course also is a single payment, and you pay for the course and then you get all the content delivered at that time, generally speaking. If there is a community, like the folks gathered around the table online, it won't be a guided community. It might just be an open Facebook room that you all can go to or something like that. But it doesn't really have a structure to it. There's also usually minimal guidance or interaction between the students. Some are different, but generally you're really on your own with learning the material. And like I mentioned at the beginning, generally speaking, with a course, you probably get all the content at the beginning. So you get, if it's a, we took one class that was like, the notebook was like this thick when we printed it out, if you print the PDFs out. But you might get all of that at once, and then you start going through it. Some courses do have a little bit of a drip sequence of the content. So it's released once a week. You get a new chapter to read or something like that. But oftentimes it's pretty front end loaded.
Yeah, and just my only add to here is the unguided community. You talked about unguided based off of the material, but also or just in general the unguided part of the community. But the also the guiding part can be also the structure of the content and the timing of the content. So that's what we'll talk about on the other side. But it may just have an open community that people ask questions, but it's kind of just this, people trying to sell stuff, and a lot of times, weird stuff that goes on in those communities. But the structure is really not there, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So that's the course, and so I can go through the membership. So the membership side, most of the time is a monthly payment, or it's a one-time payment that really kind of structures in over a time, maybe a 6-month payment or a 1-year payment. This is the hint here that a lot of the times that you may be on a structured course that's more of a membership. So and then they may charge more for the course, but it's really structured, and it's an open enrollment or a closed enrollment where you may have a more of a guided experience. So that, it's a subtle difference. So drip sequence probably is a little more structured based off of the content versus, on the course side, I believe, a lot of courses, the minute you buy the course, your drip starts. Like there's no way to stop it. And kind of like, here you go, here's your stuff. And one of the things that we're trying to do on programs and projects as well is like find a way to let them start the drip series when they're ready for either a segment or to start it in general. But again, it's a fine line of, managing hundreds of thousands of people potentially. So lots of guiding content, and the content is really to guide you through the content, right? It's how to conceptualize it and put it in a bigger framework, and then help you understand where it fits in. So sometimes if the courses aren't structured well, or even memberships aren't structured well, you're kind of like, if you miss a day or something, you're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm a little lost here. The support, there's more support, and a lot of times they might have community managers or a membership manager that's kind of running through that, or the leader of the community or the membership is running that. We call it rallying content interaction, where maybe there's a specific goal of that month or that chapter, and a little more structure,
Yeah, really good points. Really good points. And well done. A membership really starts feeling like a community, like you're really part of something together, and taking a journey together. And that I think is one of the best parts of a well done membership. You're really on this journey with your fellow students.
Yeah, and so when we look at these side by side, what are some of the big differences to you, Cara? And this is where we're trying to get at a little bit of, get this membership quest out of my
Right,
head.
exactly. Yeah, one of the interesting things for me as a psycho, there's a word for this, like how humans work. And one of the
You're
things
not a psycho,
interesting,
so
no, not a psycho, but the psychometrics or something,
okay, all right.
that I'm not. Single payment versus an ongoing monthly payment. And oftentimes it's a human thing. Like if I'm paying for something every month, I value that. And it doesn't have to be much, but our brains associates value with that. And with a membership, that's such a nice idea to do a monthly subscription or a 6 month subscription, but it's an ongoing thing, and that really reinforces in our brains. And I have several memberships, and every month I'm charged my credit card. I'm like, yeah, that's a good investment of my time and money, and that kind of thing. And a one time thing, I've also done plenty of those. It hits my credit card, and I'm kind of like, oh, I have it, and then I just don't. I
I'll save
don't.
it for later.
I'll save it for later, and
I'll
that
put
kind
it
of
in the
thing. So,
bookcase.
yeah.
It's
So
like
just
buying a
the
book and you
simple.
put it in your bookcase with all the other books that haven't been read yet.
Exactly. For it's piling up.
Versus you get
Yeah.
a book like you're renting the book every month and you get to keep it, but
Right.
every month you're getting
Yeah.
charged, but you're like, okay, I better
Yeah.
start reading that. So that's a good, yeah. The
Yeah.
psychology of payments and
And
why,
and value. Yes.
yeah,
It's
and
good.
and the amount of payments too, right? So, if it's a really important thing and our time is valuable, definitely that's a thought. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that that's my one of my difference here is really the guidance here, and the
Yes.
difference between the two is that we'll talk about different types of content and how to do that, but um, how to help people along their path and their journey. And so, again, these are conceptual things. Not That's why we talk that the idea is not core sources. It's that these are concepts and that are most typically known for these different types of learning vehicles, right? Um,
Exactly.
any other things that kind of pop out to you?
Yeah, I agree with the guidance part, Andrew, for sure. Because that that is a big part of a membership done well. And just that commonality and that shared experience along the way as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This, definitely it's fun talking about this because we talk about this a lot, and we when we're working through our memberships and we're doing this, but really, what are these ideas and how do we explore them together? So, um, you know, any thoughts if you're watching this? What's your thoughts on, what's your biggest takeaway between a course and a membership? How do you how do you envision that and see that for your things and your projects that you're working on? Do you see some similarities or have you seen differences? We'd love to kind of hear about that going forward.
Yes.
So yeah, let's go to the next one here. So here, so this is where we kind of talk about some of those points, right?
And there's our friend. I can't tell if he's going forwards or backwards. I think he's doing both. But
Probably depends on the
yeah.
monitor. Depends on the monitor.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, learning tendencies. This is a excuse me. We all learn in different ways. And there've been a lot of studies on brain function in students and how some are kinesthetic, some are very audio driven, some are very visual driven, some feel the kinesthetics. And it's a really great thing if your course or membership can tap into all of those learning modules or modalities. So having something that they write and something that they hear and something that they view. So like you said on the first slide, Andrew, with the different, we had a laptop and we have earbuds and we had a book and we had like one other thing. So the more,
Live or
yeah, lives,
consumed
exactly.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more modalities we can tap into with whatever we're trying to help our audience learn or absorb or transform with the content, the better. And that's just going to really help with it's going to help with consumption and help them work through the content, because it's not just a book or not just a thing, but it's got different things, and different things are better for different times of day as well. And it's also going to really help them learn at a deeper level and not just like plug it into the head and then forget about it.
Yeah, and also the brain and different sides of the brain might do different things based off of for each individual,
Exactly.
based off each individual type, you know.
Yes.
And the other thing I think about this on this learning tendencies is that um, also the ways we do consume courses and ideas, and a lot of times those tendencies could be procrastination. You get your syllabus and you're like, okay, I'll wait till a week before my paper is due, or you might start working on it ahead of time, or you want to explore those topics. Also the tendencies with courses is that if you're consuming the content, you're going to stay in it, especially for the membership, and you're going to learn more and get
Yes.
more out of it. But also the tendency is to say, okay, I bought this thing, and now I'm going to put it in my to-do pile, and then you may get to it or not. So I think a lot of times that is our tendency, and we've been in a lot of courses that have some type of structure as well, and you do see um, groups of packs of different people on different paths, and what do they say? Your journey's your journey, or whatever. But
Exactly.
everybody's doing their own thing, and there's no judgment there. But people do learn at different paces and different ideas, and so we all have different tendencies. So does your membership in your course try to include multiple of those different tendencies?
Yes, good point.
Let's see what's the next one here.
More
So I
voice content.
removed the I.
Exactly.
So this is something we can't, Cara and I come
This
up with
is,
that.
yes, this is a construct that Andrew and I created called GRIS content, and it's guiding, rallying, informing, and supporting content. So different kind of buckets of content along the learning journey. So we had a great conversation about this, and we think that a key to consumption is less of the just straight instructional content, the data, the heavy reading, that kind of stuff, and added components of guiding content and encouraging content and rallying people around a certain goal for that week or that module or that month, and just kind of really integrating all those different content pieces.
Right, and you mentioned earlier. Well, I gotta remember when I change this. I gotta change this whole thing here. That when the types of content, audio and visual and video and reading and stuff. The same thing here, that a lot of people may get different aspects of learning based off of maybe people love a challenge and they love to get rallied behind something, or they
It's true.
love um, the guiding, and maybe they really get into the lives and they ask questions and they really want to interact with you, or maybe they just need somebody to say, hey, you can do it, and we believe in you, and this is important, and you're important, and thus go for it, and then that support and a mix of two, and depending on your community and your the topics and the things that you're going, you may have more of another. We know some communities where they're guiding grief, and they're getting through that, so they might need more support, and less instruction and less guiding, but or not much rally, or we do fitness and health sites, and that's more rally, and then support on
Right.
the let's go for it, and then also the guiding of what are we working on this month, and what are our topics of focus this month. So right, there's lots of different ways
Right.
you can structure it. So there's no right answer except for the ones we give you. So
Exactly. Yes. And it's
but
so true that every membership, the why of your membership is going to flavor the kind of content that you provide, and at what time and in what format. And you'll figure it out. And we're here to open that conversation too.
yeah, we talked a little bit about this already, but timing and
Mm-hmm.
structure of content. The structure could be really fun, and one of the things we're going to talk a little bit about is transformational structure of content, right? And really, this is a beautiful concept of getting somebody from here to there, and then there's multiple steps along the way. And how do you break your content in that? And then how do you time that over time? Is it over a month? Is it over 5 months? Um, and really keeping people engaged and on topic. So I think, not much to add. I think just a thought
Yeah.
here.
I think one of the keys to that is just that more is not necessarily better, and really that keep everything not overwhelming. Whatever the opposite of not overwhelming is. Keep it manageable along the way. I think that might be one of the
Yeah,
biggest keys of the
self-paced,
timing and structure.
well-paced. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah. And I added this earlier. Cara hadn't asked me what it is, but there's that keep it simple, stupid, and I thought that's a little little direct, but I just thought it'd be keep it simple, Sauron, since we're
I like that.
a fantasy base. But
Very nice. Very nice.
the Eye of Sauron says you must study. So
Exactly.
if the eye's on you, you should be studying at that time. So
There you go.
all right.
Well done.
All right. So I think it's intermission time.
Is it intermission already? My goodness. Okay.
Just
What movie do we have today?
just there for everybody's fun knowledge. We try to get have movie based intermissions that either have something on the topic, and we'll talk a little bit about that today, or some just fun aspect of it. So we'll go to this one. So let's see here. Oops. There we go.
Ooh.
Maybe this one's
Ooh.
better. Yeah.
I still can
So-
hear the pedaling of the little tricycle around the hotel lobby walls.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've talked about this. I think we need to we'll give the movie away at the end, of course.
We will.
I think
We
most
will.
people probably know this one, but yeah, this one that's a good point. Like more and more, movies are about telling stories, right? And some of the aspects of these stories are just embed into your brain. And this is a horror movie, and it definitely there's a lot of things in this movie that are kind of, I would say it's not scary, it was more disturbing
Yes, and very
Yes.
suspenseful. Yes.
and suspenseful. And
And-
then I really like that part. It's such a big hotel. And actually I've been to a hotel. Have you been?
I have too. I've stayed there.
What's it called again?
The Stanley in Estes
Stanley
Park,
Hotel.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yep. It's beautiful.
So there's an outside and inside, but it's a huge hotel, and so they're staying there over the winter. And the little kid has nothing to do all day, so he's going around the thing, and he keeps seeing these little girls and these weird voices and stuff. So, and then one of the scary quotes I remember, and this gives you a little hint of the name, of
Yes,
course, but some
yes.
places are like people, some shine and some don't. So,
Yes.
and then and very.
And if you've seen that movie, you can never ever forget that scene. Oh my gosh.
And I always like to end on a fun note if we have it. But I saw this fun thing the other day, and definitely I do have cats, so this helps me thing. But when you're trying to go out to the bathroom without your cat, and your cat's trying to push in and reach under the
Like I
reach,
have to come in.
what's going on? Can I come in? And you're like, no,
Wait.
you can come in a little bit. So this is The Shining. So it's a
The
fun
Shining.
movie. If you've seen it,
Let us know.
put a comment in. What's your favorite scene, and also um, the other concept here is the maze, and that's why we thought about this just before that. Is that complex structures and mazes are mazes and crypts, I think, are the two, or different ways to think about how things are structured and how do you tackle these complex ideas, and if you get lost in them, how do you get out? So
Yes.
sometimes our topics are super involved, and we need to have structure so we can figure out ways. So they do say, I don't know if that's true, but if you always go through the maze and take a right, you'll always get out. But I don't know if that's
Is that true?
that's what I've heard. But
Maze
maybe it's
trivia.
kind of it's a cheat. Yeah. Anybody know the answer? I don't know.
I don't know.
All right.
Interesting.
All right. So kind of maybe this is, what would you call it, wrapping this up, and what are the main important points what are here, and we have some extra ideas here too, because there's different types of content, and I wanted to talk about this today, and definitely want to get your thoughts on this, Cara. Is that there's content where you had this really 25-cent word that you're using, but that you need to have some type of understanding before you move to the next levels and doing the next topics and stuff. And so, but we both do martial art Aikido, and a lot of traditional martial arts have ranks, and those ranks are sequential. A lot of times they go up, so or they go down. So like you start with cues, and you would say 5th cue, 4th cue, 3rd cue, 2nd cue, 1st cue, and then you would do stages: Shodan, 1st stage; Nidan, 2nd stage, going up. But each stage there's mini milestones, and then there's a test or some type of challenge or something that you do, and then once you completed that, you start over and learn the same things over at a higher level. Right, Carl?
Yes, exactly. And every stage builds on the previous one. So like, you can't start here and just jump up here because you want to, because you have to have those stages and those foundations of every level to get to the next level.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about this here in a little bit, but so within those types of things, we've been talking about a thing called concepts and capacity. And how do you have the capacity to learn more and build more into your, see if this works. I want to try this here. Okay. Not this one here. Let's push it down. Now it covers them up. Sorry, everybody. I'm just having fun. But the concepts and capacity, so in martial arts or other things, you may never have practiced before. And so first you have to learn the basic concepts of how to train and how to do all this stuff. And then the second thing is, then now you need to start training so that your body and your mind start syncing with these ideas, right? So as you train more and harder and you're learning harder concepts, then your body is capable, because you're starting to work out more and you're learning how to protect yourself and how to fall and how to do these things. Then when you get those next stages, your body is ready, plus your mind is ready, because you have both the concepts and the capacity. I think that goes true with more knowledge-based stuff as well. Maybe the more you read and the more you study and the more you get those concepts, it might, they both go in sync. So
yeah, I think that's really, I think it's very true. I have a funny example. I was someone I know was taking an accounting class and couldn't make it, so I volunteered to go to the accounting class and take notes. This was like the days before, all that stuff. So I went to the accounting class, met the professor. He knew why I was there. It was all good. And I had so little knowledge of accounting principles and all that I didn't have the concept knowledge to know what to even take notes on, because everything was new. So I'm like, well, this isn't very helpful. So I just tried to write everything that the professor said for that hour and hand it over to my friend. But it was a really interesting thing. Like you have to have some amount of conceptual knowledge to be able to absorb what you're learning. And if you don't have that, then that's where we all start at the very, very beginning. I didn't have the basic accounting background, so I couldn't apply any of that knowledge. But I think you're really right about that, Andrew. That you have to know the concepts first, and then just practice them and build that capacity and that capability to keep learning and building on those ideas. And that leads to transformation. Yay.
Yeah, and real quick on your point as well, and teaching martial arts is pretty complex to a certain degree, and a lot of the times, I remember when I first started teaching, and and I know when you assign people to teach for the first time, people take it super serious and they write down I'm going to teach this technique, and then we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and we're going to do this for 20 minutes, and then we're going to teach this technique, and we're going to teach this technique prior to knowing who's coming to class, what the level they're
Yes.
at, and ready. And then the minute you go in and you're like, oh, it's only beginners today, or oh my gosh, it's all advanced people.
Right.
And over time, I learned that it's nice to have general course ideas and syllabuses, especially when it's sequential.
Right.
But when it's sequential, then you usually don't move on, or you move on and then you have remediary or different ways for people to get caught up. But if you teach over time, you definitely need to kind of see who's in class and then have on the fly ways to develop your course. So I just thought, it's a fun topic. But you mentioned the word transformational journey. You want to talk about that? This is probably the biggest,
Yes.
most important topic here. We want to kind of get.
Yes. Yes. Ideally, Andrew and I are both lifetime learners and just love the whole process. So we're always doing courses and things. But think of how fun it is when you start and you don't know anything about a topic, and then you start learning and building, and you get so excited about it. You just want to continue on, and eventually that really you undergo a transformation, whether it's learning to play the guitar or painting, drawing, writing, anything. The more you go along, you just realize, wow, I've come so far and this is so fun and I want to keep going farther. So, as course and membership creators, it's a really important thing, I think, to think about where you want people that are going to be learning from you, where do you want them to go? They're A to Z. Like, and if they're starting here with very little knowledge, that's your member base or your audience focus, then how are they going to get to here? And just really have fun thinking about what are the steps I can take them on, and what's the what's the knowledge that they can get here that'll apply to this next module and that kind of thing, and then keeping that whole arc through the whole thing. It's a very exciting thing, really is.
Yeah, and I like to think of that as when you envision a person who has completed at least one stage of that transformation, what do they look like, and
Yeah.
what are those skills I've learned, and on the capacity side of like how can they better deal with and do some of those things. Like I said, you can play a guitar, but can you play it confidently? And that's why the beauty of a membership course is that you may get through and get your completion of all the aspects. But
Right.
now the beauty of that is that there's no stress that you can't go back and
Yeah.
start all over again. And maybe you don't start as basic, but you go through the same things. And the next time you go through that, you're at a higher level, and
Right.
your content is really helping to drive practice, the basics, right?
Yes. Right. Yes. And at every level, you're just going to be, you might be doing the same thing, but every time you go through it, you're going to be at a different level, and that upward spiral just continues. So fun.
Yeah. And I think this is for courses and memberships as well, but also if you're consuming or you're becoming wanting to learn something new and exciting, these are important ones. What do I see as success and how do I break that down? And then you can figure out maybe some stages along the way. So this can be used on both sides. So
Yes.
um, there. So
Exactly.
see on the other side here, what's our kind of final ideas here?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about content types earlier, but again, really think about what the journey of learning is going to be, and what kind of content is going to be the most relevant at what stage. So for a really simple example, at the very beginning, it's good to kind of level set and teach the foundational things that somebody will need to learn more about the topic, whatever that topic is, and
Mm-hmm.
really make those fun and not overwhelming. Like make them kind of game like and like easy to win, easy, really easy to win. That's the next bullet. But those, our brain also needs wins. We also need to feel like I got this, I'm confident, like okay, not like I'll never get this stuff. That was like me in math. Now I'm better in math, but it's, yeah, you just need those wins and little like success check marks.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think for um, like we talked about things that might take a little bit more skill set and capabilities along there too, that you try to build in wins that are in um, different aspects of the um, the learning path. So, for example, we talked about martial arts, but that's a good example. But you might have an easy win of like, we're going to celebrate your first 10 classes, right? And then
Right.
you
Yes.
make a check mark. You made it to class. Like, that's great. That's important, right? It's those mini wins.
Yeah.
You've learned three basic things and maybe learn the words for them, right? Again, that really has nothing to do with the skill set of you doing those techniques. Then we might build in a really early level test, or really just have you go through some motions and really at a high level kind of make those wins so you know that it's doable and it's not this giant mountain that you have to climb. And then ultimately, then you need to build in those bigger challenges, that the testings and those other things that eventually you want to get to, because those might test the skill level of what you're doing. But you also want to build in other things that are important, like getting to class and
The
um,
habit.
habits and
Right.
contributing and being part of the school and being part of the membership. And and there's so many different fun aspects, and we'd love to hear, even the
Right.
comments over time, like what are some things that you've seen that are really well done about celebrating those mini wins that maybe not have to do with skill, but maybe they're more about consuming content, or
Right.
being part of the community, leaving messages, leaving comments, supporting others, right? Being part of the whole process. So
Yeah. Yeah.
love to
Great.
hear your
Great.
thoughts on that.
Great points. Yeah, I remember when I first started martial arts, I I could have gone out and bought a uniform on my first class, but I purposely, I think you actually said, you don't need to do that. So I purposely, after 6 weeks, I set my own little 6 week goal. Like after I've practiced diligently for 6 weeks, I am buying my first uniform. And it was such a proud thing. Like I did it for 6 weeks and now now I have a uniform. And it was like a graduation, a personal little graduation for me. So I think it's nice when we can build those in.
Yeah, you
And then,
mentioned you mentioned that's a really awesome point, and we mentioned earlier on, like sometimes when you buy the course and you don't consume it, right?
yeah.
And the same thing when you're, and taking things, you start a guitar course and you go buy, a $3,000 guitar, right? And so maybe you rent a guitar until you completed some milestone, and then maybe you get a first or entry level, then you kind of build that up. And like you said, I always think it's great, but sometimes people buy $3,000 worth of equipment before they start training on certain things, and then they show up to one class and they realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm sore and this is hard. And like, well, I think if you didn't buy all that stuff, you would probably be more motivated in get through those minor things that you can't get through, like you said, and make a challenge for yourself. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah. I still have that key in my closet. So fun.
A Giza
So
uniform, by
fun.
the way.
A Giza uniform, yes. The white jacket and pants.
All right,
Yes.
there's your train.
Yeah. Oh, in
Um,
my train, yes. Yes.
let's see.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up here. Let's see here. Start your journey today. We always like the most important thing is just getting started, right?
It is the
And
first step.
MQ
Yeah.
over there is getting started. They're
Yep.
going along their way. You just got to get on the trail, get momentum, and building momentum along the way will really get there. But I think the big thing today was maybe just taking complex ideas and exploring the why and how it's structured, right? And it's
Yes.
super powerful. We talked about that.
It is.
Guidance and support is another key aspect, and we talked about a lot of different ways to do that. And I guess the thing is, you mentioned it too, that you be your own advocate, and being an advocate for your members and your people. And so the more you can build in some type of gamification or congratulations or ways to celebrate, then definitely it's a win-win for your course and or membership. So
Yeah, exactly. Really well put.
can you find ways to um, build any of these concepts um, into your courses and memberships?
Right.
Do you have any
Yeah.
final thoughts on these?
Yeah. And just and if people have like one element that really resonated with you and you're going to look to building that into your course or membership, we'd love to hear it. Yes. And yeah, my wrap up thought is how what fun it is to create content that can help. I'm a little gushy about this, but help change somebody's life in whatever way, whether it is learning a guitar. I mean, that's a cool skill to have, or learning to do a martial art, or getting through a phase of grief in your life. I mean, those are all just big, amazing things. And when we can write and develop content along that journey for people, that is a true thing we're honored to do.
Yeah, and we're honored to be part of this journey with you, and we want to say thank you for coming.
Yes, thank
And
you.
if you want to keep, we're gonna keep doing more of these, and let us know some of the ideas and things that you want to follow through with. Make sure you like and subscribe below. And if you want to be part of our community, we do have a community out on Facebook, membership course site community for tech-weary entrepreneurs. We'll put that also in
Yes.
the descriptions below. And definitely, we're excited to see your courses and memberships evolve. So
Yes, we
have
are.
a
Yay.
great week, and we will see you next week.
Next episode. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.